We'll let that hit right in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the one and only P1 in the building. We are back on the channel for some more content. It's been a minute. Hope everyone else is doing okay. But it's been a while, but it's good to be back. I'm here joined with the one and only, our good friend from the Lock It In Foundation, the one and only Danny Lewis.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here on this December night, and I'm looking forward to Christmas.
It's actually
And
December 10th.
what did I say?
You said December 9th.
Oh,
It's
oh
the
no, I
10th.
said on this December night. I said night,
Oh, okay.
but I can see
And we are joined by the one and only man who can make a green screen touch his headphones, the one and only David 3000.
Everybody, and happy Friday. It's been a good Friday, for us, Danny. And
it. Oh yes, yes.
hope you all are having a safe winter as the holiday season is start around the corner. And hopefully you can come and watch a little video that we made history around it. So, Paige, continue.
Yeah, but anyways, guys, it's been a hot minute since I've been streaming for one, and it's coincidental. The last time I was streaming, you guys were here.
Yeah,
It feels like we can't get. It feels like we can't get away from each other.
yeah. It's like the horse cast.
No.
But nowadays we're more like the Musketeers. Um,
Yes.
And this episode is brought to you by Sold Out. Let's Go Be Mart.
I don't know about that.
keep in mind as always, our program is sponsored by the one and only Rogue Energy, so you can save 10% of the purchase using live uncut at checkout. That'll be the only time I say this. And by then, Danny will be fully stoned. But anyways,
Yes, a good way to celebrate what we did, David, and a good way to de-stress after a stressful week on Friday is to get naturally stoned. And that's all I'm gonna say.
let's see.
Speaking of, this this right here, people, is the meme of 2021. Take a look. Yes, that is the great meme of 2021. And this episode of this show uh is dedicated to the great Andrew Hawking. So
Sure. That's what we had a petition to call this show Andrew Hawking Naturally Stoned instead of just the Andrew Hawking Show. But,
that'll be for the future of myself. But anyway,
sure.
so hope guys are having a good day watching on YouTube, or Twitch. I'm not sure if this is live on Twitch too. Um, so Paige, what do we have in store for tonight?
Let me see. 1 second. 1 second. I'm doing my inner butt buddy of clout. At the moment, trying to see what we can tract. But anyways, um, what we do, what we do have in store tonight, what we do have in store for this night is a brand new series. I call it History with Friends. With Brigands, with my good old friends, we're gonna react to some history. We're gonna react to some history videos. Starting off with one of my favorite channels to do history, and that is the great team at Oversimplified. It all started when it was a fateful. I think it was earlier in the week. It was a fateful night earlier in the week. I stumbled across Oversimplified Slaves video known as the Pig War, and David was so fascinated by it, he made us a lovely thumbnail. Um, but
Yep.
but in a more serious retrospective, um, this was something that like I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm a huge history guy. Um, so it's fun to
Ah,
sit. I find it enjoyable to hear history, and I get to bring in some friends. We get to talk about stuff. I get to show them stuff they probably didn't know. And
Right.
it's a good time. It's a good time. They get
This is
to
the
they get a
history.
few.
You gotta have the history, you know.
Yeah.
And look who said hi, everybody, in the chat.
Hi, everybody. This is me. Oh.
You'll get the
Hi,
you'll get the
everybody. This is me, Angel
anybody
Hawking.
wondering, you'll get the reference. You will get the
Comment.
reference. Like I assure you, you'll get the reference to what we're talking about. In case you don't know, but for right
I'm gonna send a
now,
voice message right here. I'm gonna send a voice
Mhm.
message. Hi, everybody. This is me, Andrew Hawking, and come check out my new petition to make me some great game shows as David and his friends are live on the Phenomenal One channel. So yeah, go check them out. Andrew Hawking actually sold out.
All right, but
that's
anyway,
true.
let's see.
That was an A plus voice message anyway.
Anyways, we're gonna start off with a video. We're gonna start off with a video that I haven't shown to either David or Danny. For the great part. So they're gonna be completely new. They're not gonna know anything. They're not what they're about to see. They're gonna see it for the first time. They haven't been briefed on any of the material. The only thing they know, and this is about prohibition, which is why we have Danny over here trying to make himself as stoned as can be.
I thought this was the same video that we saw about the pig war.
We will do pig war. We will do pig war, but prohibition.
Okay.
I said we should start off first with. Let me see. Without further ado, I think we've wasted enough of your guys' time. Let's do it.
Honey?
So this is, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Prohibition by Oversimplified.
This video was made possible by Honey. Click the link below to save money on your online shopping. And also, limited edition Al Capone pins on sale now. Get them quick before they sell out. Link in the description down below. Good morning, honey. What's for breakfast? The usual. 2 caskets of rum, a mug of hard cider, and a full bottle of wine. Oh boy. Oh, I'm running late. I'll have to take it with me. Don't forget your lunch. It's a 6-pack of beer, a flask of whiskey, 6 shots of tequila, and as a special treat, a banana. Oh, gee whiz. I'm gonna be smashed today. Enjoy your day of operating sharp, dangerous farm equipment. I can't believe this is an acceptable way to live. God bless America. Okay, gotta go. I love my life.
I hear a bit of an echo.
America, the land of
What'd you say, Danny?
I heard a bit of an echo. I think that's on your end, Paige.
Yeah, I heard it too.
It's like where just a video is coming through like a second later.
Let me see. Let me move my stand over.
Don't forget to watch my cartoons.
Anyways, let's also
Watch
turn
them
down
on what? Not Jeopardy.
turn down some of the game. But anyways, let's
Fine.
continue.
Full strip malls, top-class infrastructure, and wonderful urban sprawl. Ah, yes, beautiful America. But what's the most American thing you can think of? The Statue of Liberty? Mount Rushmore? A crazy lady in a mobility scooter yelling at a pigeon? Well, what if I told you the answer?
Let me speak to your
That's right. When the Puritans arrived on America's shores, they brought a ship packed with beer. George Washington provided his men with a daily cup of whiskey. Andrew Jackson's inauguration party left the White House so trashed that everybody had to be ordered outside. Frederick Douglass said whiskey made him feel like a president. Me too, Frederick. Me too. Americans drank a breakfast. Doctors prescribed the nation's hard liquor. In the 19th century, Americans drank 3 times as much as their modern-day counterparts. That's a lot of whiskey. Hey, Jerry, how's that report coming along? Already done, sir. I've also organized your paperwork, watered your flowers, and been a father figure to your children. Wait a minute. What's that smell? Have you been drinking at work? No, sir. I would never. Well, why not? Everyone else is doing it, but I got all my work done. You're fired! Americans drink at work. They drink at barn raisins, baptisms, and public hangings. Heavy drinking was so normal that it was as American as apple pie. Hi everyone, my name's Ron, and I'm an alcoholic. Get over yourself, Ron. We're all alcoholics. But more and more Americans began to wonder whether all of this truly was a normal way to live. Were Americans drinking, perhaps, a little too much? Well, one group in particular thought the answer to that was yes. You know him, you love him. Woman. Oh crap! Woman! Run! Hang on! Just want to talk. Women talking in public? That's great. Come on, Fred. You've got 2 kids and a wife at home, yet here you are spending your entire paycheck on booze. And you, Dr. Spanky, you were on the cusp of discovering time travel, but what did you discover instead? The sweet, sweet joys of whiskey. That's right. Alcohol. It's destroying our families, our jobs, and our homes. She's right. Hang on, man. Don't let them get to you. This saloon is our safe space where our wives and children can't annoy us with reality, where we're free to be real men. Right. He's right. I am. And what does it real men do? Take care of their families. I don't know what she's talking about. You take care of your family? No. We drink beer, we shoot guns, and we mud wrestle. As America's heavy drinking grew, more and more lives, moral resistance began to arise, and women were at the forefront, taking matters into their own hands at a time when women doing just about anything was shocking. They'd had enough of being victim to their husband's heavy drinking, and they were going to do something unprecedented. You're going to what? I'm going to protest. Oh, sweetie. Women can't protest.
Oh my god.
For spreading nationwide. Crusade against alcohol. They marched through towns and cities, singing hymns, gathering outside saloons, and praying on their knees. Women praying was so terrifying that in some towns, schools were shut and business stagnated. On one occasion, firemen were called out to hose down the dangerous praying women. On another, the owner of a beer garden reportedly held a cannon outside and threatened to reduce the savage women to dust. Nevertheless, they persisted. They formed the WCTU in 1874, and they organized. They set up homes for inebriate women. They installed water fountains in public parks. They wrote textbooks for school children that contained some interesting claims about drinking alcohol. Here's little Timmy. Uh-oh. Looks like Timmy's going to have his first drink. He's taking a small sip of whiskey, and Timmy has spontaneously combusted. The end. The woman's efforts weren't in vain. In small towns across America, drugstores agreed to stop fulfilling prescriptions for alcohol. Men committed themselves to giving up drink. Inspired by the woman's moral fervor, some saloon owners closed their doors. The Women's Crusade and other temperance movements were forcing people to reconsider alcohol's role in society, and more people began to side with the growing temperance movement. Many states had even begun enacting their own dry laws that restricted the sale and use of alcohol. One of them was Kansas, where alcohol had been outlawed since 1881. Despite this, many illegal saloons remained open, and authorities had done just about nothing to stop them. One woman, disgusted by what she saw, decided she would take the law into her own hands. And not just any woman, a terrifying, hatchet-wielding, sweet old lady named Carrie Nation. Armed with her trusty hatchet and a bag of what she called smashers, she traveled from town to town visiting saloons. But she wasn't there to get smashed. She was there to smash. The men could do nothing but cower as sweet little Carrie took out and tore the place to shreds. She went to Kiowa and smashy smash, Wichita, smashy smash, Topeka, smashy smash. On a couple of occasions, she was arrested, but each time they were like, okay, Carrie, we're gonna let you go so long as you promise to be a good girl and not smash up any more saloons, okay? Screw you, pig! Yeah, I think she's gonna be all right. Smash, smash, smash. Carrie's tactic shocked the other members of the Women's Christian Temperance Movement, but she assured them, and this is a quote, ladies, you do not know how much joy you will have until you smash, smash, smash. Carrie became a household name, and she hoped her unusual tactics would spread across the country, but unfortunately, many of the women's movements eventually slowed down. Why? Because of this kind of thing. Thelma, I ripped my pants again. Ugh. Well, you'll have to sew them yourself because I'm going out protesting. What? I don't know how to sew. What if I burn the house down and get eaten by alligators? What? Don't be stupid, Mitch. Look, I've got to go. Call me stupid? She's the one who's stupid. Hey, Thelma! Look who's stupid now! There was nobody to do the cooking and cleaning and being seen and not heard.
Okay, not gonna lie, I feel like I feel like Danny would do. Danny, I feel like you would do something like that.
No. Burn the house down on purpose and say, "Look who's stupid up." I'd have to be pretty.
I'm gonna
I don't know.
I'm gonna put this in a private chat hole. Don't say it out loud.
All right, let's see what we got.
I wonder who would do that though. Yes, it is.
We got loud.
Now that person might have done that, but anyway.
Anyways, let's continue.
They gradually had to return to their duties at home. But where the woman had got the ball rolling, a new movement was about to take that ball all the way to Washington, D.C. I'm talking about the Anti-Saloon League. The Anti-Saloon League was a political pressure group run by a very sweet-looking old man. But don't let that deceive you. This guy was an evil genius. While the women's movements were interested in a whole range of issues, Wayne Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League only cared about enemy number one, Mr. Alcohol. And as a result, they were extremely effective. They were able to exploit the fears of the American people. And I mean everyone's fears. Here's how they did it. Hello, sir. Welcome to the Liberal Progressive Rally. Why don't you introduce yourself? Well, I'm Patty, and I'm an immigrant from Ireland. And tell me, Patty, do you drink? Oh, yes. I drink a lot. See, folks, people like Patty come here looking for a better life, only to end up drunk in the gutter. Don't worry, sir. We're gonna help you. Hey, man, you're doing great. I just need you for one more thing. Hey, Christian conservatives, this is Patty. Dirty Catholic Irish immigrant who's come to destroy America with his alcohol-fueled debauchery!
Some holy man's there too.
Alcohol was making their irresponsible workers lazy. The black community was warned alcohol was hindering its progress, while racists were warned alcohol would turn black men into American.
Oh, what happened? Did we lose David?
I think we lost David. Oh man.
Oh no.
Oh man. Anyway, so let's continue on.
Oh boy.
Push it back a few seconds.
Opposing groups found themselves agreeing on at least one thing. Alcohol was bad. The Anti-Saloon League also made great use of propaganda, something prohibitionists have been doing for decades. Take this specimen, for example, that warns what will happen to you if you start drinking. Let's see. First you take a drink, you get a little rowdy. Okay. You make some new friends. Nice. Then you become homeless. You turn to crime. And... But the most effective tactic Wheeler used to force prohibition on America was pressure politics. In any election he could, Wheeler very successfully rounded up support against any politician who was in favor of alcohol. In Ohio alone, he had 70 state representatives, a Republican governor, ousted from office and replaced with prohibition.
Cincinnati.
America was afraid of Wayne Wheeler. Even those who enjoyed alcohol in private began pretending to be against it in public. Alcohol is delicious. Malicious. Sorry, Wayne. I'm really drunk right now. Then it really hit me. When America found itself fighting in the First World War against Germany, anti-German sentiment exploded. Sauerkraut became Liberty Cabbage. German measles became Liberty measles. And Dachshunds became the embodiment of evil. See, America? You've always been this way. The biggest brewers in America were German, and Wheeler saw to it that drinking alcohol became akin to pro-German treason. The German brewers desperately tried to fight back, creating their own propaganda, presenting beer as a healthy beverage, one that you could even give to your kids. As you can imagine, it didn't go down well. President Wilson instituted some temporary wartime prohibition measures to save grain for food, and with many in the country now in support of prohibition, all that was left was to make it law. One problem was that taxes on alcohol made up nearly 40% of the U.S. government's annual revenue, and the government wasn't just about to give that up. No problem. The Anti-Saloon League helped lobby for the creation of a new income tax on the American people, and just like that, the government was no longer reliant on alcohol. Prohibition was finally introduced to Congress in 1913, not just as a law, but a constitutional Amendment. In 1917, as the House held their final vote on the Prohibition Amendment, Wheeler was watching from the gallery. You spineless cowards. I know half of you drink, yet here you are bowing down to Ned Flanders out there. Look at him, like he's some kind of Caesar. Ugh, don't be so dramatic. I obviously don't think I'm Caesar. Now release the line. In the end, Prohibition passed the House easily, 282 votes to 128, and the states ratified the new amendment by 1919. America, a nation obsessed with liberty and freedom, had just voluntarily given up its private right to choose whether or not to drink alcohol. We did it, folks. We fixed everything. America will be perfect forever. You just dissolved America's fifth largest industry and lost tens of thousands of jobs for us immigrants. No, you idiot. You don't get it. We helped you, idiot. Ugh, I could really go for a beer. Oh, no. Immediately after Prohibition went into effect, alcohol consumption in America decreased as Americans followed the law and tried not drinking. Man, if we're going to be law-abiding good boys, we need something else to fill the dark, gloomy void that delicious beer once did. Well, how about we crack open a nice cold can of water? Hell yeah. Toss it over. Nah, this isn't doing it for me. Let's try knitting. This isn't filling the dark void at all. Want to play some kites? Ah, screw it. Let's go get some illegal beer. Well, it seemed like many Americans supported Prohibition. After the law went into effect, it seemed like just as many Americans intended to keep on drinking, and they would go on to find a variety of ways to break the new law. Here's a question for you. Do you like breaking the law? Well, shame on you. Or do you like saving money when you shop online? Then you should use Honey. Do you ever shop in stores? Then you'd have to talk to real life. You'd rather shop online in the comfort and darkness of your mom's basement. And better yet, you can save money when you shop online with Honey. Honey is a free browser extension that scours the internet when you're checking out.
Yeah, people, don't forget to buy Danny's Redbubble.
To increase my chances of getting and look, this Magic Dancing Coin Man has a promo code for me. Holy heckin' balls! I just saved $18.75. Watch out, ladies. And guess what? Those of you who've already installed Honey using my link have found over $247,000 in savings. So what are the rest of you waiting for, you big dumb stinky idiots? It's free and can be easily peasily installed in 2 clicks. So get Honey for free today by going to joinhoney.com/oversimplified. That's joinhoney.com/oversimplified. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you. Now where were we? Oh yeah. Punching Patty, passing Prohibition, and procuring pints. Pretty soon after the new law went into effect, the failures of Prohibition were already beginning to rear their ugly heads. For starters, the details of the new Prohibition law, written by none other than Wayne Wheeler himself, turned out to be more draconian than expected. Many Prohibition supporters only wanted to outlaw hard liquor and hoped beer would remain legal, but the Volstead Act outlawed anything over 0.5%. That would make Liberty Cabbage illegal. Secondly, the new law was full of loopholes that Americans very quickly began to exploit. For example, while the sale and manufacture of liquor was illegal, drinking it wasn't, and you could also any alcohol you had before the law went into effect. So many private clubs hoarded huge amounts of alcohol that saw them through the entire Prohibition period. Whiskey intended for medicinal purposes was also allowed, and doctors basically became bartenders. It looked as though a full-on epidemic had broken out, as there was a sudden surge in prescriptions for whiskey. Sacramental wines used by churches and synagogues were also permitted. Orders for communion wine suspiciously skyrocketed by millions of gallons. And as rabbis had access to religious wine, suddenly everyone was becoming a rabbi. You had Rabbi Pat O'Leary, Rabbi LL Cool J, Rabbi Fluffy. But don't worry, I'm sure all these definitely legitimate religious figures couldn't possibly be selling wine in the back alley after Mass. Yep, definitely nothing strange going on here. New products also hit the shelves in stores, such as Vine Glove, a brick of dehydrated grape juice, itself not alcoholic and therefore perfectly legal, but the packaging did contain a strangely specific warning. After dissolving the brick in a gallon of water, do not place the liquid in a jug in the cupboard for 20 days, because then it would turn into wine. I'll take 1,000. Yes, sir. Now, at this point, I want you to think back for me, if you will, to the year 2005. You're the coolest kid around, and you convince your parents to rent a great
2005.
The movie sends a strange message. Something about
A pastimes weren't happening yet.
Oh yeah.
I remember these commercials. Anti-piracy ads.
With copious amounts of ransomware. You
I
were
won that
breaking the
election
law,
by a lot.
bad boy or girl. But did anyone come to arrest you? No. That's my point. If no one's enforcing a law while everyone's breaking it, is it really a law? And so it was with Prohibition. See, the conservative-led governments of the decade were also the kind of people who believed in small government spending. So they passed a law that would be extremely difficult to enforce, but also didn't want to spend any of the money required to enforce it. The newly created Bureau of Prohibition only had 1,500 agents to cover the entire country. That's one agent for every 70,666 Americans in a massive country with 12,000 miles of coastline and one gigantic land border with Canada. Good luck, schmuckos. And all these clever little loopholes people were using to score illegal booze were only just the beginning. America was about to devolve into alcohol-fueled criminal chaos. By outlawing it, Prohibition had made alcohol a pressure, and millions of Americans would become outlaws as they found a variety of ways to score illegal booze. For example, many Americans began making their own liquor. Illegal stills from making moonshine were found by Prohibition agents from the hills of Kentucky and the caves of Arizona to parking lots in major cities, and even in the homes of Prohibition-supporting politicians. Oh, come on now, fellas. I voted for Prohibition. I'm not going to have an illegal still. What's this? That's my son, Freddie. Say hi, Freddie. Sir, this is obviously an illegal still. How
And I
dare you?
voted for Brian Martin to be sold out.
Bathwater. Why does it taste like alcohol? Here's a better question. Why are you tasting my bathwater? Weirdo. Come on, Freddie. Let's get away from these perverts. To discourage moonshine, the government began adding extra toxins to many of the products moonshiners were using, which resulted in many cases of severe illness and death. But alcohol wasn't just being made at home. Along America's vast coastlines, rum runners smuggled alcohol into the country by sea. A floating supermarket known as Rum Row extended along the East Coast just beyond America's maritime limit, and bootleggers frequently sailed out in small boats to pick up shipments of booze. These bootleggers could then be found selling their illegal products everywhere, even in the halls of Congress. Wow, Pop. One day, I want to work here. Well, son, if you work hard and never give up, one day even you could be a massive hypocrite. Even President Harding was known to serve his cabinet bootlegged whiskey, and some bootleggers were so successful, they became bazillionaires, such as Roy Olmsted, an ex-cop who became one of the biggest employers in the Seattle area from smuggling booze. Unfortunately, all of his whiskey came from Canada. Yuck. All of this criminality was being made possible by copious amounts of corruption. Across the country, armies of government officials were persuaded to turn a blind eye. Bootleggers became so rich, it was no problem to stuff a couple $1,000s into the front pocket of the police chief, or the mayor, or their disapproving mother. And some cops were getting almost as rich as the bootleggers. All right, man, everyone gather in. I've received word that one of you has been taking bribes from bootleggers. Any ideas who? Kevin, perhaps. Got any thoughts? No, sir. Many police officers came from the same communities that drank a lot, and they were about to arrest their own granddads for knocking back some homemade gin. But all this isn't to say there was no enforcement. Plenty of government officials were doing their best to enforce the new laws, and some unlucky individuals received very harsh penalties, such as a Michigan mother who was sentenced to life in prison for small-scale moonshine. Cases like these were widely reported in the media and only served to make Prohibition even more unpopular. But not just that, the media also loved to cover the exploits of the most famous bootleggers, turning them into national icons. One of the biggest bootleggers was a man named George Remus. Originally a lawyer, he watched as his bootlegger clients paid off enormous fines.
I thought it was
the business, but unlike most bootleggers, Remus had big brain, and he came up with a pretty clever system. See, there were millions of gallons of liquor produced that were sitting in distillery warehouses, and it could only be sold with government permission to drug companies. So Remus set up his own drug company and bottled the liquor. Then he set up his own transport company to transport the liquor. And then he would send his own men out with guns to intercept his own transport vehicles. And this would happen. Hey man, this is a stick-up. Oh no, please don't hurt me. I won't hesitate to shoot. Please, I have a wife and kids. Hand over all the whiskey, Fatty. Hey, Fatty isn't in the script, you jerk. All the whiskey from himself, he could then sell it for big bucks. The perfect crime. Unfortunately, Remus was eventually caught by a goody two-shoes Prohibition director in Indiana who wouldn't take Remus's bribes, and the government found Remus guilty of violating the Volstead Act 3,000 times. For 2 years, as Remus sat in prison, his wife promised to take care of all of his money. And by take care of his money, she meant have an affair with a Prohibition agent, sell up everything Remus owned, and file for divorce. When Remus finally got out and found his big fancy mansion empty with his wife gone, he reportedly broke down in tears. A few months later, during their divorce trial, he spotted his wife in a car in Cincinnati. Remus hopped in a cab and asked the driver to run her off the road. The driver was like, okay,
Yeah, that's good,
and shot his wife dead. He immediately handed himself into the police, and his next trial, this time for murder, became a national sensation. Remus defended himself, claiming insanity, occasionally carrying out skillful questioning, occasionally crying in the corner. But the nation felt bad for him. His wife had screwed him over, and so when after just 19 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned and declared him not guilty, the court erupted into celebration. And just to remind you, this guy bluntly admitted to murdering his wife. The American justice system. Mwah. As alcohol poured into the nation, a lot of it was going to a new type of drinking establishment. In popularity,
Oh man, imagine that.
drinking establishment. So secret that from the outside they often look like ordinary shops or homes. So secret that you usually needed a password to get in. So secret that everybody knew about them. Speakeasies. And once you were in, the party went all night long. Scantily clad flappers, snake ladies, jazz. It was a roaring time to be alive. Some publications even posted reviews of these illegal clubs, and bribes galore kept the party going. It seemed like half the police officers and federal agents in cities like New York were receiving kickbacks from speakeasy owners. Hey, what the Kevin Costner is going on here? Officer O'Hannity, taking bribes? Why am I not surprised? Prohibition Director Simmons? For shame. Mom? What would Dad say? Ask him yourself. Dad would say, quit being such a wet blanket and let Daddy earn his tips. Anytime a speakeasy was shut down by authorities, it seemed like 3 more would just pop up elsewhere. And some neighborhoods were so full of them that one resident began hanging a sign to try to keep partygoers from constantly knocking on her door. It really seemed like the new laws regarding alcohol, in some places, were simply being ignored. And one prohibition agent who traveled the country liked to see which city was the most defiant by timing how long it took for him to be offered a beer after he arrived. His winner? New Orleans, where a cab driver offered him a drink after just 35 seconds. Bravo! Many voices in Congress were already speaking out against prohibition and its failures. To display how ridiculous the whole thing was, one Republican congressman gathered the media to all come and watch him drink a homemade beer. When he asked a passing police officer if he'd like to arrest him, the officer said no. Hey, wait, is all this what you had in mind? I thought we were going to make the country better, but it almost seems like it's worse. What do you mean? Alcohol consumption is down. Well, that may be true in your small town world, but it says here drinking in some areas is up, as are arrests for public intoxication, drunk driving, and incidents of liver cirrhosis. The general chaos has turned America into a nation of criminals with no respect for the law, and all these attempts at enforcement are just costing the economy valuable money and eating up judicial time and resources. Release the line. The social change and corruption that Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League had been so eager to prevent, in the cities at least, was surging. See, when something's legal, you can usually regulate and control it, but make that thing illegal, and often anything, becomes fair game. Legal drinking age, gone. Mandatory closing hours for clubs and bars, gone. Other unspoken sociocultural rules surrounding alcohol, gone. In speakeasies, different genders and ethnicities were beginning to mingle in a way they hadn't done before. The Roaring Twenties saw a monumental shift in culture, not least of all because now men and women could flirt in public without being for eternity. An outraged Wayne He did his best to make sure that anyone breaking the law was punished. He had even strictly legislated in New York. But all this did was clog up the justice system with petty drinking violations, and judges began letting everyone off with light fines, so the judges could get back to dealing with things that actually mattered. You know, things like murder. And there was plenty of murder, because bootleggers and moonshiners were one thing, but prohibition had given another kind of criminal an opportunity to make a fortune. Mobsters and gangsters. Hey, Fat Tony, big news. Hey, Fat Joey, what's up? I just got word from Fat Louie here that the government's outlawing alcohol. You know what that means. That means we're gonna be rich. Quick, call Fat Polly and let's go hijack a liquor truck now. All right. Hang on, let me tell my wife first. Hey, Fat Susan, no pizza for Fat Joey tonight, capiche? Stop calling me Fat Susan. Rival gangs began to battle in America's cities, raiding each other's transports, assassinating rivals, and trying to take control of their city's illicit booze trade. Every city had its top dog. Detroit had the Purple Gang. New England had Charles King Solomon, but no city was as infamous for gang violence and murder as Chicago. The city had multiple gang factions, and at first, they agreed to stay in their own neighborhoods. But the thing about criminals is
We
that
can host tic-tac-toe in Chicago
inevitably
now.
broke down.
Yeah, you can host tic-tac-toe in one of those buildings.
He was walking along
But
the
no
street,
game shows were around yet, unfortunately.
and he was like, you know, I think I'm done with this, and left for New York, leaving his crime empire to his chief enforcer, none other than Al Capone. Having been knifed in the face in his younger years, Capone earned himself the name Scarface, although interestingly, he hated that nickname and preferred to be called Snorky. Snorky was ruthless, just like any other gang leader in America. But what set him apart from others, the reason he's become synonymous with 1920s gang warfare, is this. Most other gang leaders would try to keep a low profile because, they're killing and murdering and stuff. But Capone lived for the fame and kept an extremely high public profile, frequently speaking with the media about his exploits and presenting himself as a gracious host, providing Chicago with good times. No need to thank me, fellas. I just provide the city with a valuable commodity while doing away with the competition. You mean you murder people? Whoa! Who said anything about murder? I just, force my rivals underground. When you do the thing with the hands, it seems like you're talking about murder. Whoa! Look at you with the brains. No, I just help people retire. From life to murder. Al Snorky Capone was somewhat of an enigma, brutal in how he dealt with enemies. In front of the camera, he was all smiles. One day, he'd be ordering hit after hit. The next, he'd be signing autographs in Wrigley Field. One day, he'd be bludgeoning members of his own gang with a baseball bat for conspiring against him. The next, he'd be playing Santa at a nearby parochial school. And no murder could ever be traced back to him. Just like every other criminal, he stuffed the pockets of city officials with cold, hard cash. And any who did try to oppose him sometimes found themselves being thrown down the steps of City Hall in broad daylight. Problem solved. The public couldn't get enough of Capone. He quickly became a household name as people romanticized the gang life he lived. And this became a source of concern for the people at the very top. President Hoover? What is it now, Miles? I'm busy. Well, it's just that there's a lot of crime, sir. Crime? How long's that been happening? Well, since the dawn of man, sir. What? Would you like me to blame it on the Democrats again? No, Miles. I want you to blame it on squirrels. Yes, the Democrats. Now stop wasting crime public officials and winning the hearts of the people probably wasn't a good thing. Hoover personally ordered that something be done about this Capone fellow. But before he knew it, President Hoover was also dealing with another major problem. You know him. You love him. Woman. The Prohibition era had been going on for nearly a decade, and anyone with a brain could see that it really wasn't going very well. One person with a brain was Pauline Sabin, an extremely influential and rich woman who served on the Republican National Committee, fundraised for Republican presidents, and had a secret wine room in her giant mansion. She initially supported Prohibition, but was now disgusted at the chaos it had created, and she began a new women's movement, this time not for Prohibition, but against it. Being the extremely influential woman she was, her new organization gained nearly 1.5 million members within 2 years, 5 times that of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. She hated that the WCTU claimed to speak for all women, and she began calling for the repeal of the 18th Amendment. President Hoover, I helped fund your campaign, and now I want you to end Prohibition. Miles, what did I say when I'm not going to do anything? You'll look into it, sir. Oh, yeah, that's right. Pauline? I'll look into it. Sabin gave speeches on the steps of Congress and helped start a growing push among the American people against Prohibition. But Hoover, a Prohibitionist himself, wasn't budging. Then, on the 14th of February, 1929, something happened that shocked the nation. Men thought to be working for Al Capone tricked some Irish mobsters into meeting them at a garage in Chicago, thinking they were there to purchase whiskey. Instead, the mobsters were lined up against the wall by men dressed as police, and they were shot. The Valentine's Day Massacre had people outraged. It was cruel and almost felt like American mobsters had finally crossed a line. People were sick of the violence, and in part, they blamed Prohibition for helping to create it. The pressure on Hoover to do something was steadily increasing. Fine. Miles, I want you to put a report together to see if this whole thing is working. You mean the thing where mobsters are becoming increasingly powerful and massacring each other in the streets, and everyone is disregarding the law, and half our public officials are corrupt and taking bribes? That thing? Yeah, I want to know if it's working or not, Miles. Stop wasting my time. Hoover continued to drag his feet on Prohibition, but after the Valentine's Day Massacre, he was still determined to do one thing. He wanted Al Capone in prison. Since Capone had been so careful, the FBI were having a hard time charging him with anything, but eventually, they got him. Capone, we know you're supplying Chicago with alcohol and you've been involved in countless murders. Whoa, look at you with the crazy talk. I ain't done none of that stuff. But you're rich, right? You're damn right I am. And so where'd all the money come from, Capone? All right, I'll let you in on a little secret, but you gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay? I don't pay my taxes. Whoa! This murdering. The IRS finally got Capone on tax evasion.
You can buy Al Capone merch on Redbubble.
He spent most of his time having a laugh with his lawyers. Hey Capone, I gotta know, why are you so confident you're gonna win here? Well, Your Honor, because I'm an honest man with a big heart who's passionate about working for the good of the people. And also because I threatened the entire jury's families. Luckily, at the last minute, the judge replaced the entire jury pool with a new one that Capone's men hadn't yet got to, and Capone was found guilty. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison, the harshest penalty ever given to a tax evader. But even with Capone locked away, the violence in Chicago and other cities continued, and in response, the movement against Prohibition continued to grow. And the final nail in Prohibition's coffin came in 1929. After a decade of booming economic growth under 3 Republican presidents, the stock market had plummeted, and America was thrown into the grips of the Great Depression. It was an awful time. 1 out of every 5 workers, 15 million people, would lose their jobs. Half the nation's banks failed. Temporary shantytowns were built for the broken homeless in public parks. Suddenly, very few people had time to care about Prohibition. Expensive enforcement of an unenforceable law didn't seem like that big of a priority when people were having their homes repossessed and losing their life savings. And many began to argue that repealing Prohibition would create vital jobs and tax revenue for the government. Yet President Hoover doubled down. Here's that report you asked for, sir. Give me. Prohibition is great. Fantastic news. Sir, it says here Prohibition is great at undermining the rule of law in America. Miles, it says the word great. That means good. Now stop wasting my time! The public, increasingly shocked at the violence they saw in the streets, the corruption they saw in the government, the general disregard for the law, and now an economic calamity, had enough. For his re-election, Hoover faced a Democratic candidate who promised to finally do something about Prohibition, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Crowds cheered as FDR made his campaign speeches promising to modify the Volstead Act, and Pauline Sabin, a lifelong Republican, along with her 1.5 million supporters, endorsed Roosevelt. And on Election Day, it was a landslide. Before FDR had even taken office, Republicans in Congress began the process of passing the 21st Amendment to repeal Prohibition. One of FDR's first acts as president was to pass the Beer Permit Act, which made beer legal while the new amendment was being ratified. In 1933, with the passage of the 21st Amendment, Prohibition was finally over, and the people celebrated it like they'd just won a world war. Bars and taverns were packed. The WCTU were inconsolable. Wayne Wheeler was dead, and the celebration, particularly in America's cities, was intense. Heading into the mid-1930s, the effects of Prohibition were clear to see. From now on, culture around drinking had changed, with men and women drinking together, not in saloons, but in bars and taverns. The crime syndicates that had been given so much power through Prohibition remained powerful as they moved on to other things. Some states opted to remain dry, with Oklahoma only repealing its Prohibition laws in 1959. To this day, there are still counties in America with some form of Prohibition. So what did we learn today, kids? What's the big lesson here? What's the moral of this story that we can all take away and apply to our day-to-day lives? Maybe that you shouldn't force your own morals on others who don't share them? Maybe that if you tell Americans not to do something, that's the one thing they'll definitely do. Or maybe there is no lesson. Maybe we're all just a bunch of dumb, stinky idiots, and we're all doomed. The end.
Oh man. Oh man. Anyways, what are your guys' thoughts on that video? Very curious.
I'll start with
Start with me.
Yeah, we'll start off with Danny Boy. Yeah.
That was an interesting video. They explained it greatly. They did a great job explaining it. But I thought the pig video was just a bit funnier. But nonetheless, Prohibition, they did a good job explaining it. And the Roaring Twenties, we got to bring back the Roaring Twenties because we got to bring back jazz and polka music. Well, polka really wasn't popular in the 20s. But still, we gotta redo it. We gotta make the Roaring Twenties come back. It'll make it an A+++.
All right, David, your thoughts?
I would say that was interesting, of how the depression came about. And it was interesting to watch. But however, though, the next video you're gonna watch is something that you guys will laugh at, and I think it's time.
Shall we go into pig mode?
I guess.
Oh, let's do it. Pig war, oversimplified.
VPN.
Wow, David, that's
Below to stay safe online and get a huge discount off a 2-year plan with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Trouble sleeping? Need someone to snuggle? Then why not snuggle? Me! The limited edition Oversimplified plushie is available for pre-order for a few days only. Get it quick along with some beautiful new character pins. Look at us, boys. We've only gone and bloody done it. We beat the Brits and secured independence. Now to expand westward and conquer the rest of the continent. Thomas? It looks like a bunch of different people already live out west. What? Oh no, that means we can't expand. I hate my life. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say they were white people. At the end of the Revolutionary War, when the United States secured its independence from Great Britain, the two sides met in Paris to settle the terms. Among various things, they discussed American territorial gains, and the British granted them a generous amount of land out west. However, Benjamin Franklin appeared to have an additional fascination. Oh, Canada, so voluptuous. You think we can maybe acquire some of that? Quit ogling our territory. But look at those curves. I'd worry less about Canada's curves and more about your own curves, Benjamin. Many in America suggested that one day the Canadian colonies should become a part of it. In response, Britain suggested that many in America should shut the hell up. Well, if Britain wasn't going to give up Canada, then the two sides had to agree on where to put their border. Easy enough for the most part. Follow some existing borders, add in a few rivers and lakes, maybe even a parallel for good measure. But then there was a question. What would happen here? Straight line, straight line. And so it was. The border would go from the northernmost point of this perfectly oval-shaped lake and continue in a straight line westward until it met the Mississippi River. Perfect. Or was it? Well, as it turned out, the lake didn't actually look like this, but like this. And the Mississippi wasn't here, but here. So in the end, none of that made even the slightest bit of sense. Don't blame the founding fathers. They were just using the best map available. Blame the guy who made it. But to the minds of the day, the issue had been solved, and it was finally time to start getting along. Oh, back to war they go. The glorious War of 1812 saw the Americans Canada and the British burned down the White House. But when all was said and done, it was pretty much a draw. And once again, America and Britain had to enter into peace negotiations. By now, both sides realized the original border they came up with was a piece of hot garbage. And since America had also recently obtained a huge amount of land from Napoleon, they decided they would need to re-examine the border issue. Straight line, straight line. And so it was. To fix the problems of the previous border agreement, they decided to go from the northwesternmost point of this lake, as had been previously agreed, down to the 49th parallel, and from there the line would go straight as an arrow up until the Rocky Mountains. But beyond the Rockies, the two sides couldn't quite agree on where it would go next, because both sides claimed that territory beyond the Rockies was theirs. See, throughout its early history, America as a nation had its eyes heavily fixated on all that juicy land out west, ripe for invasion. I mean, settlementation. America wanted to expand. Not only was it their right, some believed it was a destiny given to them by God himself. Or disease. Okay, guys. Yeah, that's what he said. And spoke to God? Well, it was one of us. Well, it was one of us. There's no way we made this whole thing up to justify ruthless collective imperialist tendencies. All right. Well, in that case, let's get out there and make the world a better place, just as God intended.
McDonald's.
Manifest destiny. But America wasn't the only one interested in controlling the Western territories. At the time, Canada was made up of a number of colonies, collectively referred to as British North America. This one over here was owned by the Hudson's Bay Company, a British charter company dedicated to turning as many beavers as possible into as many felt hats as possible, as quickly as possible, and the indigenous people became a key supplier. As a result, the British were also eager to control the land out west and secure that region's valuable resources, and in particular, the Great Columbian Columbia River was deemed vital to the beaver business. So when it came to the question of what would happen to the border beyond the Rockies, the conversation went a little like this. The line should keep going straight because we're manifestly destined to gain the entire North American continent. No, we need this river so we can keep scalping beavers. Look, why don't we just draw the border along the river? That way we both have access to it. Well, that would be a completely fair compromise that protects the interests of both parties. We're never going to agree to it! Having come to a roadblock, both sides simply agreed that for now, they would jointly occupy the Northwestern Territory. They were both free to settle and trade there. But rest assured, the agreement was only temporary. Eventually, somebody would get their way. Listen, Yank, we can jointly occupy this land, but I ain't sharing anything else. I don't want to see you using my toothbrush. I don't want to catch you wearing my underwear. And I don't want to catch you using my computer and selling my data to advertisers. Well, then you, my friend, should use NordVPN. What the fuck? Do you like giving strangers your password? Me. NordVPN has thousands of servers in over 60 countries, allowing you to set the net at the fastest speed possible. It works across all your devices, so you're protected on the go, even 6 of them simultaneously. And it's super easy to use. With just a click of a button, you can head on over to South Korea and watch every single BTS video known to mankind. With NordVPN, you no longer need to worry about those shady websites, annoying pop-ups, or undesired eyes spying on your browsing history. And you can even unlock content that's been blocked in your country, like this video. It even comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So why not go to nordvpn.com/oversimplified to get a 2-year plan with a huge discount, plus an additional month for free. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you. Now where were we? Oh yeah. Bickering over boundaries, manifesting destiny, and a joint occupation of Oregon. And one man living here who felt the territory should be British was James Douglas, the Hudson's Bay Company's no-nonsense chief factor at Fort Vancouver. Ah, what a beautiful, unspoiled corner of the British Empire. I've got my spotted dick, my Spice Girls fan club membership, and an unrelenting outlook on my set of everyone around me.
What are you looking at, Stephen?
Yes. Truly British. What the? The problem for men like Douglas was that many Americans had already begun streaming up the Oregon Trail. Gun slinging, howdy neighboring, and diarrhea having. The thousands, they were pouring into the Oregon Territory in search of land to settle and farm. This, however, crowded out the fur trade, and eventually, a very bitter Douglas and the other Hudson's Bay traders at Fort Vancouver were ordered to relocate north to a new base of operations. But the Americans keep coming, and they don't stop coming. Hopped in their wagons, and they hit the ground running. It makes sense to keep sharing Oregon when they outnumbered the Brits more than 6-1. And suddenly, the whole joint occupation deal was being called into question. Newly elected President Polk maintained that America had an obvious claim to the entire region, even implying a possible war with Britain. Fiery language from U.S. senators declared that American rifles would annihilate the Hudson's Bay Company in Oregon, and America even gave Britain notice that it was pulling out of the joint occupation agreement. The British were alarmed as the two sides stood on the brink of war. But in the end, neither truly wanted to fight. The British favored maintaining good economic relations, while the Americans had already gotten themselves into a war with Mexico. So after a bit of back and forth, the British finally said, "Fine, you wanted a straight line? There's your straight line." And so, the agreement was made. The border would continue directly to the Strait of Georgia, but because the British insisted they keep Vancouver Island, it would then move south through the center of the channel and on to the Pacific Ocean. Finally, the issue of the northwest border had been solved. Hold the phone. Discrepancy detected. Enhance frame, 200%. Enhance. Enhance. Oh, too far. Perfect. Now, show me the exact wording of the treaty. The line of boundary goes to the middle of the channel, and thence southerly through the middle of said channel. But there's loads of channels. So you tell me, dear viewer, which channel is the treaty referring to? And therefore, who owns these islands? Is the wording of the treaty maybe a little too vague? Well, that's exactly the problem encountered by the people living in the area. The British insisted that the channel intended by the treaty was the Rosario Strait, and therefore the islands were British. The Americans, on the other hand, argued that the intended channel was the Harrow Strait, and therefore the islands were American. At times, the debate became rather heated. Even the individuals who negotiated and signed the treaty at times didn't seem entirely sure which channel the treaty meant, and representatives from the Hudson's Bay Company begged them to make it clearer. But thousands of miles away, the people in power simply had more to worry about than some islands in the middle of nowhere. All right, listen up. We got a lot to get through. The 7th Earl of Chissingham says he encountered a foul beast in the fields of Upper Fardingdom late last night and put this sketch together. That's a poor person, Darren. Ugh. Next, Lord Piddlingham says he has a new mole on his backside. How is that parliamentary business, George? Oh, some islands in the Pacific Northwest are in dispute and could lead to a war with America? Boring. Fine. Let's take a look at that mole, George. And so, for now, the islands were simply held in dispute. Were they British or were they American? I'm sure this conflict won't cause anyone to die. And one man who thought the islands were on the northern British was James Douglas, now the governor of Vancouver Island. He had already once had American settlers encroach on his territory and force him to move. And by golly, he wasn't going to let it happen again. As far as he was concerned, those islands were not only British, but prime agricultural land. And given the chance, those glubby Yanks wouldn't hesitate to start pitching flags with their glubby little hands. And so, he came up with a plan. If the British settled the islands first, then that would surely secure them for Britain. And so in 1853, Douglas sent an Irishman by the name of Charles Griffin, along with some Hawaiian shepherds, to go set up a sheep farm on San Juan Island. And set up a sheep farm they did. The place was rammed with sheep, 1,369 to be exact. But within those flocks of woolly cowards could also be found a number of beautiful, prized Berkshire pigs. Oh, Porky, you look stunning. You're the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Would you perhaps like to go to the island bowl together tonight? Oink once for no. Roll around in that cow crap if yes. Yes! I'm covered in poo and I'm the luckiest man alive! But life on the island for Charles Griffin wasn't to be a perfect paradise of pig pageants, because unfortunately for him, the Americans also believed the island was theirs. One day, in 1854, an American customs collector was sailing around the islands on the outlook for bands of native tribesmen when he spotted something. Aha! I've got you now, you savages. Over yonder. Those are sheep, sir.
Dan
Sheep,
the
you say?
Savage.
What are they doing here? Let's go
Yeah,
and
Danny Savage.
negotiate with sheep? Are you crazy? I'm perfectly stable, you rat bag. Call me crazy again and I'll eat your eyes! Hello, good sir. We request to speak with your leader. Out of my way. Allow me to parley with this foul beast. Hey, stop threatening my sheep. Your sheep? You mean to tell me that you, a British subject, have illegally imported these sheep into American territory? I'll have you know that you, an American, are currently trespassing on British territory. The Americans felt that they were entitled to collect taxes on the British property, because the island was American, and they threatened seizure if dues weren't paid. The British, meanwhile, threatened to arrest the Americans, because the island was British, and the two sides were in a standoff. To give Charles Griffin the legal power to deal with the American trespassers, Douglas said, "Hey, put on this wig." Boom, you're a magistrate now. And in turn, Griffin went to one of his Hawaiian shepherds and said, "Hey, I'm making you a constable. Put on this badge." The British then went off to arrest the U.S. Customs inspector. But, being an American, he emerged from his tent with 4 pistols and a giant knife, so the Brits had to back down. Eventually, raids by northern tribes chased the U.S. officer from the island, but the Americans weren't done yet. Officials from nearby Whatcom County in Washington Territory believed the island fell under their jurisdiction, and they decided it was time to make the British pay up once and for all. They sent one Sheriff Barnes to go confront Charles Griffin. "Hey, you owe us $80.33 for all this farm stuff you got here. Go suck an egg." Oh, I see. So that's how it is, huh? That's how
Oh, that's my favorite part.
That's the way in
Okay,
which
here we
you
go.
are, eh? That be how it will, is it? Will it be how that is, huh? That be the way in which things be the way they are, is that? Get off my property! Officials felt they were now well within their rights to seize and auction off Griffin's sheep in order to recoup lost taxes. And who had they auctioned these prized breeding rams off to but themselves? Then, in a pretty chaotic scene, they worked to tie the rams to their boats. And when Charles Griffin came running to rescue his kidnapped sheep, being Americans, they pulled out guns on him, and he had to back down. In all, Charles Griffin lost 34 breeding rams, and he was furious. The British complained to the American government, who were shocked to hear what had been going on at their northwest border. And both governments told their officials in the area to back off. We're not trying to start a major war over some dumb sheep and a stupid island. But also, the islands are definitely ours. Under no circumstances let the other side have them. For now, both governments agreed to set up yet another boundary commission to decide which channel was the correct border. But it often devolved into petty bickering. The British did make one interesting suggestion, though. We could draw the border through this middle channel and split the islands between us. Well, that would be a completely fair compromise that protects the interests of both parties. And there's no way I'm ever going to agree to it! And in the aftermath of the debate, James Douglas, still stationed at Fort Victoria, became even more cautious of American encroachment into his territory. Mr. Douglas, sir, it appears an Indian has discovered gold in the Fraser Canyon, just north of here. Shut up! Keep your voice down, boy. We can't risk those glubby Americans hearing about this, or our territory here will be infested with them. Oh no! Fraser gold rush attracted a heap of Americans to the region. Some got lucky. Most did not. And of those that didn't, rather than returning all the way home, many simply decided to settle in the area. And in particular, the juicy green pastures of San Juan Island were rather appealing. Believing the island was American territory, around a dozen American settlers moved there in the late 1850s. One of them was a man named Lyman Cutler, a young man in his mid-20s, and lazy as pie. He didn't want to have to clear a space in the forest to build his home, so he said, I'll just build my cabin right in the middle of this British sheep run. I'm sure that won't make anyone mad. When he planted potato seeds in his garden, rather than building a nice protective fence around them, he said, I'll just fence in 3 sides and hope all these British farm animals have a moral compass and respect my property rights. Griffin's pig was a Berkshire, well known for rooting, and Lyman's fairly pathetic fence made for a bad combination. Numerous times he had had to chase the pig away from his property, and he once angrily marched up to Griffin's home, saying, Hey, British farm idiot, keep your stupid pig out of my potatoes. It is up to you to keep your potatoes out of my pig. Griffin was furious with his new American neighbors. They built their homes all over his sheep pastures. And besides, what right did they have to be here anyway? It was British territory. Lyman, on the other hand, swore the local government had assured him his land claims were legitimate. And so to him, the British were out of line. Look at that sick freak. In love with his pig. Isn't that just sick? Yeah, what a freak. Not like our love, Spuddy. Ours is all natural. Yeah, just a man and his potato. Nothing wrong with that. But the tension between Lyman and Griffin was just about to explode. What the? All right, you damn dirty pig. That's the final straw. Lyman shot the pig.
Oh my god.
After taking a second to calm down, he felt bad about murdering Griffin's prized boar. So he went to him and said, Hey man, look, I kind of just killed your pig. It was eating my potatoes again. I don't know, man. I kind of just killed your pig. Killed your pig.
Just kind of.
That's kind of, yeah. Oh my
God.
Really fucking stupid. That's why I call it oversimplified.
You swine! No,
you swine. You
Who's gonna
uncultured
kill?
swine.
I'm Lyman. Griffin demanded Lyman pay $100 for the loss of the pig, an outrageous sum at the time. Obviously, Lyman refused, threatening to shoot any more animals that dared enter his property, even threatening to shoot Griffin himself. When Griffin complained to James Douglas, British officials went and confronted the pig killer. Again, they insisted he pay up, and if he didn't, Lyman claimed they threatened to arrest him and take him back to Victoria. British officials arresting an American on American soil and trying him under British law. Now that's controversial. And it's a controversy that attracted the attention of an American general in charge of the Department of Oregon, one William S. Harney. This guy, General Harney, had a reputation. He's the kind of guy who invades Mexico without orders, wasting valuable resources and creating an embarrassing situation for everyone involved. He's the kind of guy who has one of his own men arrested for writing the wrong header on a report. He's the kind of guy who finds a dog digging up his yard and then chases it for 1.5 miles just to give it a beating. He hated superiors, hated being told what to do, and had been court-martialed 4 times for disobeying orders. Contemporaries described him as an imbecile, all matter and no mind, an arrogant humbug, and a laughingstock. Like I said, General Harney had a reputation. He hated the British and was out for any opportunity to earn personal glory for himself. By some accounts, he even wanted to become president. And so, in July 1859, when he happened to visit San Juan Island, and he learned of the plight of the Americans living there, the shooting of a pig, and the British threat to arrest Lyman Cutler, General Harney went into scheme mode. Hey, yo, Captain Pickett. Yes, sir. Listen carefully. I need you to go pick up some flowers and bring them to my place later. I've got a plan. Here I am, sir. What's the plan? Pickett, you and I are going to start a war. What do you mean, sir? Okay, listen up. An American man shoots a worthless pig on San Juan Island, and the British threaten to arrest him. Outrageous. But we can use it. We get the settlers there to send us a petition saying they need American troops for protection. That's when you go with your men and occupy the island. The British will find American troops on an island they consider theirs so offensive, they won't hesitate to blow you to smithereens. Then, it's war. We bring in reinforcements and we fight back. I'll write to Washington, D.C., letting them know what's happening. But here's the kicker. My letter will take 6 whole weeks to get there, before the government even gets a chance to respond, telling me I'm an idiot and ordering me to cease fire. The island will be ours. Hell, we could even invade Vancouver Island or British Columbia. It's foolproof. Wow, very impressive, sir. But I gotta ask, why? Well, I'll level with you, Pickett. Historians still contest exactly what it is I'm trying to do here. It's possible I'm trying to expand America's territory. Maybe I'm trying to play the hero so I can become president. Some have even suggested that since I'm a slave-owning Southerner, I may be trying to create a diversion to help the South secede in the upcoming Civil War. But if there's one thing that almost everyone can agree on, it's that I'm an idiot. I see. Hold on. What you tell me to bring flowers for? Because, Pickett, they're pretty and I like them! There are also historians who believe that Pickett had no secret plan at all, and were not scheming masterminds, but simply hot-headed buffoons, genuinely outraged at the audacity of the British and trying to protect American citizens. But the fact of the matter is, Pickett took the very controversial and extremely provocative act of landing American troops on disputed territory. He set up his camp in a very exposed position and erected a very provocative sign proclaiming that only American laws applied on the island. It was almost like he was asking to be fired upon. Or, again, maybe he was just an idiot. When a British official sent to the island to get rid of the unruly American settlers now saw that there were American troops, he demanded they leave. He was obviously told to go suck an egg. When Douglas found out, he was enraged. To him, the American landing constituted an invasion. Harney sent a report back to the War Department in D.C., justifying his actions with exaggerated claims of British villainy. But he knew it would take 6 weeks to get there, and another 6 weeks for their reply to come back. For now, the situation was entirely in the hands of local military and government officials, and the ball was in the British court. Would the temperamental Governor Douglas and the powerful British Navy respond to the American provocation with force? Were Britain and America really about to go to war over the shooting of a pig? Well, if one man were to have his way, it's entirely possible they would. James Douglas had already had Americans force him out of Oregon. They had threatened his position in Victoria during the gold rush. Now they had invaded his island, and he had had it. It was time to turn to the Royal Navy. You, Captain Hornby, go to the island and prevent any more Americans from landing. And take this magistrate with you to arrest Captain Pickett. Use force if necessary. Just don't do anything to start a war. Wait. You want me to use force, but not start a war? Oh, is that too much to ask, Princess? When Captain Hornby got to the island and saw that the American force there was even larger than expected, his concern grew. He sent word back to Douglas, who in response ordered even more ships to the island. And at this point, the naval officers were like, hey man, let's talk. They were concerned Douglas's escalation was leading them to war, and they convinced him it probably wasn't a terribly good idea to just go up to an American military captain with his armed men and say, hey bucko, you're under arrest. Please don't shoot me. Douglas gave in. To prevent any hostilities, he canceled all orders and told the Navy, for now, to simply keep an eye on the Americans. He did send one more ship for good measure. Captain Pickett, now seeing the British ships with their guns aimed directly at his exposed camp, said, see, Jeff? Look at that. We're about to get blown to bits. All according to plan. Hang on. Oh crap, Jeff, we're about to get blown to bits! Run! Pickett hastily moved his camp from its very exposed position to another position, which, as it happened, was also very exposed. It probably won't surprise you to learn Pickett came dead last in his graduating class. Nearby American and British officials began showing up to ask Pickett what the heck he was even doing. Then, a bunch of tourists showed up, because a major war breaking out in their doorstep was the single most exciting thing to ever happen in any of their miserable frontier lives. One Charles Griffin was particularly unhappy. First, his pig had been shot. Now his sheep pastures were being trampled by soldiers and tourists alike. He complained to Governor Douglas, who was still pretty upset about the whole thing. Douglas felt British honor itself was at stake. So he decided that if American forces were allowed to be on the island, well then by golly, the British should be there too. It would be a joint military occupation. Upon hearing Douglas's new plan to land British troops on the island, Captain Hornby decided to go speak with Pickett in person. After informing him of the plan, Pickett replied that if they dared land, he would open fire. So there they were. The British had orders to land. The Americans had orders to prevent their landing. This was it. War. Over a small island in the middle of nowhere. Over a pig. And so over whether the U.S.-Canada border looked like this or like this. It was stupid. Hold on. This is stupid. To heck with it. I'm not landing those troops. I'm not going to be the one who starts a war. The captain decided not to follow Douglas's order. And good thing he didn't, because pretty soon after that, the leading British admiral in the entire Pacific region showed up. Rear Admiral Baines outranked Governor Douglas. When he heard of everything that had been going on, he was stunned. But when he heard that Hornby had refused Douglas's plan to land troops, Baines could have kissed him. Whether he did or not, history doesn't tell. But I like to think they did. The Rear Admiral canceled all of Douglas's orders and instead pursued a policy of not interfering with the Americans until he could contact the British government. The Americans, not knowing the British no longer intended to land, had sent reinforcements and began fortifying. But even still, the British Navy did nothing. And finally, when word made it across the planet, informing the two governments of the ongoing crisis, everyone was shocked. Holy crap! Harney landed troops on disputed territory? Man, I hope the British don't find out about this. Buchanan? Oh crap! The British! Why are we getting reports of American troops on San Juan Island? Whoa! I don't know, man. Nothing to do with me. But you're the president. What? Breckenridge? Am I the president? Yes, sir. And hey, we got a problem. It looks like the southern states are considering seceding, and we're headed for the biggest crisis in the history of the nation. And it's your job to fix it, sir. Sir? Oh no. Go away. Not the curtain again, Mr. President. Not here. You cannon. Back in the Pacific Northwest, Harney was beginning to realize the government may not be terribly impressed with his reckless actions. So he began firing off even more aggressive letters, justifying what he had done. Tell him the British were sending bands of Indians to attack our men, and that they're big meanies with coal for hearts, and that they made me cry like a little girl. Wait, no, that makes me sound weak. They made me cry like a big girl. Yeah, that's it. When the president received Harney's new letters, his anxiety only grew stronger. Oh, crap. Hey, General Scott, please make this go away. Leave it to me, sir. General Winfield Scott was the commanding general of the entire U.S. Army. Well known for his negotiation skills, he was a veteran of the Mexican-American War, during which time he had to deal with General Harney's idiocy and insubordination. And he watched as Harney got away with it all, thanks to his friends in high places. It's safe to say that Scott really did not like General Harney. By now, General Scott was racked with gout, and he was so big, he had to be hoisted onto his ship in a basket. Nevertheless, he began the long journey to the Pacific Northwest. Okay, everyone, get over here. Will somebody please tell me what the heck is going on? I'll tell you, General. It all started on one fateful day last summer. Buddy? Oh, you damn dirty pig. That's the final straw. What? Hey, you can't get away from me! Oh, look at that pig. Nowhere left to run, eh? I'm gonna enjoy this.
Lyman, if you spare my life, can't you see
You see, General, the pig wasn't even on his property when he shot it. Liar! He's lying to you, General. I'll tell you what really happened. What a pleasant summer's afternoon.
Oh my God.
It's just me and my beloved potatoes. I'm so happy. Say, Lyman, them some nice spuds you got there. Would be a shame if somebody ate them.
No, not again, you beast! Leave my potatoes alone!
Yeah, I'm gonna eat them, Lyman. I'll eat them, and then I'm gonna eat you.
Stay back! I'll shoot!
Go ahead, punk. Make my day. Shoot me! Shoot me!
He made me do it! He made me do it!
So you're telling me you guys nearly started a war with the strongest naval power in the world over the shooting of a pig? Yeah. Starting to get it? Not only the pig, sir. The British then threatened to arrest this poor, pure American soul. Thank you, General. Shut up. I don't care about you. Okay. I've made up my mind. You're an idiot. 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 You guys are fine. And you two are the most mind-numbingly brain-dead ding-dongs I've ever encountered in all my life, and I'll see you in my office. Okay, Harney, listen. I cut a deal with the Brits. Here's how it's gonna be. Both sides will maintain a small force on the island for a joint military occupation until our two governments can decide who owns the island. Now, the only way they'd agree to that is if Pickett is removed from command. So I'm replacing him with Captain Hunt here. Now, Harney, listen to me. Do not, under any circumstances, put Pickett back on that island. Okay? I mean it, Harney. Do not order Pickett back onto the island. Understood? Yes, sir. Good. I'll see you, Glebos, later. Is he gone? I think so. Good. Hunt, you're fired. Pickett, you're going back on the island.
All right, you psychopath! I've been waiting for this! I hate you! I've always hated you!
Harney had not only ordered Pickett back onto the island, but his department even notified the British that it did not recognize the joint occupation settlement. While everyone else had decided on peace, Harney appeared to still be threatening war. Needless to say, a furious Winfield Scott soon removed him from command and sent him elsewhere. In Harney's absence, the joint occupation went ahead, and the troops actually got along together quite well. The British attended 4th of July celebrations at the American camp, while the Americans visited the British for Queen Victoria's birthday. Even Pickett became good friends with his British counterpart. War, it seemed, had been avoided, thanks largely to the level-headed actions of the Royal Navy and General Winfield Scott. Of course, the islands were still in dispute, and the question of who exactly owned them still had to be answered. That answer would have to wait, because while San Juan was at peace, the nation was tearing itself apart.
Yes,
When the Civil War broke out in
during
1861,
global power
the issue of
records.
San Juan just wasn't that important. Harney, despite being a Southerner, remained in the U.S. Army, but was eventually removed from command at St. Louis when his loyalty to the Union came under suspicion. More famously, Captain Pickett, a native Virginian, went on to become a Confederate general. Pickett's charge at the Battle of Gettysburg remains one of the most famous moments of the entire war and marked a major turning point. U.S. relations with Britain actually soured during the war. The British, missing their supply of southern cotton, initially looked like they may intervene on the side of the Confederacy. There was the Trent Affair, when Confederate diplomats were discovered and arrested on a British mail steamer. And then there were the British-built ships sold to the Confederacy that wreaked havoc on northern commerce. When the Civil War ended, furious American politicians called on the British to pay reparations. And by now, a long list of hot issues existed between them. And yes, on that list remained, 12 years later, still the issue of who owned these gosh darn islands. That issue, it was finally agreed, would be submitted to international arbitration. The Empire of Germany would decide, with the British and Americans presenting arguments. The American argument was reportedly presented with a little more pizzazz, a little more zing. And in the end, when the Germans made their decision, they awarded the San Juan Islands to the United States. When an aging Douglas heard the news, he said that there was no possible way the British argument had been presented correctly. But that was that. The British conceded, and on the 25th of November, 1872, the last British troops left the island. As the Americans entered the British camp to raise their flag, they found that the British had removed the flagpole. One last up yours to Uncle Sam. By this time, Charles Griffin had already left the island, and the Hudson's Bay Company eventually sold their sheep farm. And so, there you have it, a dangerous situation that almost brought two great powers to war, triggered by the shooting of a pig. But thanks to more level-headed minds and an eagerness for peace and cooperation, conflict was avoided, and the only casualty of this pig war was, well, just a pig. But how different could things have been? What if the British had attempted to arrest Pickett? What if they had landed troops?
Oh man,
Could the two
the best
sides
part.
have actually gone to war? Could America have invaded Canada? Could it perhaps still invade Canada? Think about it. Why not? We have the manpower. We
Go go
have
Power
the
Rangers.
Yes.
manifest destiny. Picture a future where American Mounties wear red, white, and blue and hail the stars and stripes. Where Wayne Gretzky would wave the American flag every 4th of July in the streets of Montreal. Maple syrup, the greatest American food. Banff, the greatest American national park. One united nation under the leadership of our glorious president. Drake, no longer shall we tolerate our smug neighbors to the north with their affordable insulin and endless comments complaining that I don't talk about Canada enough in my videos. That's right, Canadians. Watch your backs. Sleep with one eye open tonight. Because Biden's coming, baby. And this time, he's coming with a vengeance!
Oh man.
Oh my god.
That ending is just, oh man, that just makes the whole video.
Yes, it does. So, I'm gonna do
I was about to say, David.
So-
Yeah, let's hear your opinions about the pig war.
well, all I say is this only. Hello, everybody. It's me, Andrew Hawking. Yes, welcome to my new home, the UK. Um, yes. I guess the US has taken over, Canada, so I am now, a Ukadian. Ukadian. Um,
Eucadian.
You Canadian. Oh my god.
Sounds like some Harry Potter type shit.
so so don't forget to so don't forget to check out my new show, Chilling with Andrew UK. Um, so yes, this is me, Andrew, Google Power Rangers, and I'm out. That's my thoughts on the video.
Oh man, Danny, what are your thoughts on the video?
Well, that was very well made. People they put up that much of a war just over something as stupid as shooting a pig. Worse things have happened. Truth is stranger than fiction, and but it's a good thing that we have people to write it down, because back when in the 1800s and 1700s there were no cameras, there were no YouTube channels and no news channels happening. So
Yeah.
how to
Which makes us very much do wonder, what if YouTube was around in the 1700s?
Well, that maybe we can make a 10-part docuseries about that and have the History Channel show it in about 10 years or so.
Oh. Well, first we have to publish Fast Times.
Oh, that'll be. I'm sure. Well, we got
Yeah,
the Fast Times from 2022 to happen first.
from 2022. No, the Fast Times needs to be published by at least the summertime or even earlier. We gotta make this a new sponsor.
Oh man, I'll
I will
have that.
pay for publishing, Danny.
You'll pay for
Yeah.
publishing, okay?
I will pay for publishing. We need to put Fast Times on the map. Even make an audiobook, Danny.
Well,
Just
no,
picture
but
your glorious voice selling this book.
I would love to
Fast
do that.
Time.
But here's the thing: we'd have to change the title because the people that made Fast Times at Ridgemont High would
No,
probably
we
file a
don't.
lawsuit.
No. No.
Don't
We
you
can
know
just
that that's
say it's-
taken from it's taken from an '80s movie, and I feel like that would might
We
get
could
But
say
still.
it's from Duchess High in Georgia or something.
maybe
You won't
The
get-
book
I'm
is
down
the
for
best.
publishing it.
The book is the best the way it is, Danny. Don't change a single thing. Except make it on sale.
Yes.
Danny, I'm telling you, man, this is your pony.
I know.
This is your pony to life, man.
Yes.
Mm.
This is I guess people call me the man of the future, but anyway, this is your future, Danny.
That's my
please.
future. Yeah,
Just
right.
please publish this book. It will put you on the map.
We'll see.
You will become the next Cherry Springer.
You
You will become the next Jerry Springer if you
Jerry
publish
I don't
this
want to
book.
become. Maybe become the next Jerry Springer. I don't know about that.
Or you will become the next. You will become the next. This guy here. Hello, everybody. This is Jimmy C. the Chat, and
No, I don't
don't
want
forget
to. I certainly don't want to become the next James.
No.
I don't want to.
Okay, so please be the next Jerry Springer. It will put you on the map. Trust me. Come on.
Everybody
I
buy
would
Danny's
do-
new book.
I would
Either
have.
that or I'll just-
I would have Redbubble. I would have Redbubble as a sponsor on 1,000 Halos if you publish this.
I think I'd rather just go to a stand-up comedy club on open mic night and then tell the story in front of that. I feel like that'd be easier.
Yeah, we're gonna publish. Okay, I'm glad you agreed, Danny. We're gonna publish the book. Great choice.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
But anyway, that will do it. I think that'll do it for us here at the moment. I will be with Tom Willis in about 48
Did you
minutes.
acknowledge that Jenna was back there? I didn't even know she was there. Has she been there the entire time?
Oh no, she didn't come in until like
Oh, okay.
17 minutes ago or so.
I was like, hey, when did she get here? Okay.
But yeah, I'll be with Tommy Boy in about 47 minutes. So grab yourself if you need. We'll be on Twitch. So yeah, I
I'll
think
be
we'll be on
there
Twitch.
if my power doesn't go out from the damn tornado warnings.
Well, Danny, so far, it hasn't kicked in yet. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
It's coming and going. It's coming and going. It hasn't gotten that far yet, but I'm sure that'll happen soon.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. David,
I'll
I don't know. I
send you a
don't know if
snap.
I'll see you over at in Tom's world, but
We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. Anything's possible. But yeah, thanks for guys for watching. Don't forget, check for updates, and help control the human population. Very important. Get a vasectomy. Overpopulation is a real thing. But most of
Don't
all,
forget to get naturally stoned.
get naturally stoned, and don't forget, get vaccinated.
Yes.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yes, get vaccinated.
Against shingles.